So Krista, it's October and our license plates are beginning to change colors.
That's right.
That's right. That means that it is Snowbird season.
Yes, welcome all of our northern friends to here in Florida.
Yes. We thought it would be a good time for us to go over what it means to be a snowbird, what kind of considerations you have to have if you're planning to be a snowbird, and then provide you with a checklist of the things you need to consider back home.
One thing that I always think is interesting is to kind of follow the migration pattern of the snowbirds. So, we get a lot of folks from Canada and New York who come down here, and a lot of them, if you're driving, you jump in the car and you follow your highway straight down. So I understand a lot of people from Canada wind up in the Tampa, the Gulf area, and then other people wind up sort of on the Atlantic side. And of course, some are in Central Florida.
Right, and also look around the major airports. We're looking around Orlando area. That's why we have such a large number of 55+ communities around the Central Florida area, because we've got Orlando, we've got Tampa, and then you go a little bit further south, you have Fort Myers. So around those major airports is where the snowbirds are going to.
We forgot to tell people what a snowbird is. We know because we live here, and It's a really, really common term. It's not an animal.
No, it's not a bird. A snowbird is some are people who actually migrate to warmer climates during the winter months where they live. So the term's been around since 1923, and one of the first snowbirds, although he wasn't called a snowbird at the time, was Rockefeller. And I believe he came down to Ormond Beach, which is where we
filmed last week.
We filmed last week, and he came down in the 1913s.
Oh, okay. Great.
The majority of international snowbirds come from Canada, just to let you know. So in this video, we're going to go through what it means to be a snowbird, then also what kind of things you need to to consider when you're down here, and what you need to do at home.
Before you migrate.
Before you migrate down here.
Before you go south for the winter.
Let's explore some of the implications about being a snowbird down there, some of the things you need to consider.
Yeah, if you're going to stay for like several months.
Right, exactly. First of all, for citizens of the United States, we can stay up to 6 months and 1 day before we declare our residency in Florida. Also, Canadians can only stay the full 6 months simply because of their B1, B2 visas. And I want to say that 6 months, 1 day, but it's actually in the United States, we can stay anywhere as long as we'd like. It's just whether or not it's practical to stay that long, and where you want to declare your residency.
Right.
Okay. Snowbirds get local IDs, do you think?
I guess it depends how long you're staying, right?
Right. If you're going to change your residency and you're going to, which has wonderful tax implications in Florida for American citizens, yes, you should get new IDs. But if you're just coming down here to visit, your state ID is fine, your driver's license is fine, and later we're going to go over some of the things you need to do at home. You can vote from Florida, you can do mail-away voting, all those things. So there's nothing that you need to change your IDs for. Some of the concerns that many snowbirds I know have is the availability of health care and whether their health care will work here in Florida.
Or their insurance, what hospital to go to, sure, that makes sense.
Yeah, and be assured that whatever you have in your home state will work in Florida. It's just going to be a matter of finding the right doctors that you like. I know in Central Florida, we have wonderful hospital systems. So, ask around, ask your doctors. Let's say you're coming from the state of Pennsylvania, ask your doctors in Pennsylvania if they have some referrals for you in the Florida area for whatever you might need attention. So to be a snowbird, you don't have to own a home in Florida. Many people do, they rent, and Chris is going to talk on that in a minute. A lot of people come down and just work short-term stints. They might be a part-time employee at Disney or at the, sorry.
So please, whatever.
Might come down and work at Disney.
So if you are not going to stay here for very long, one of the best ways that you can find a place is to look on Airbnb or VRBO, if you're familiar with those websites. And if not, having dabbled in that arena myself, I can say that it is very, very common as an owner to receive a message saying, hey, we're going to be there for 6 months. First of all, can you cut me a better deal? Because the shorter the term, obviously the more expensive the rental is going to be. Nightly rate, yeah. It is totally acceptable to ask for a discount. You can also approach long-term rentals and ask if they would be willing to go 6 or 7 months, if that's how long you're staying. there's no reason why you can't ask. You're going to pay more than you would have if you were renting it for 12 months. But if it's a home that is zoned for long-term rental, that is usually 7 months. In some jurisdictions, it is 6 months. So it's worth a shot to try either of those options also.
Right. And remember that if you're renting, you can always, a person who's renting a home can always have their lease broken.
Right.
So even though the bylaws or the laws may be that they have to be an annual lease, a lease can always be broken. So if you address that with the owner of the home beforehand, then they're entering into a lease knowing it's going to be broken in 6 months.
Right.
Many of them are open to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another thing I want you to consider is if you are thinking about ultimately purchasing a home here, you may want to move into a lot of snowbirds rent their home on the off season. That is from May till October. They'll rent out their home for 6 months. It's good for you to come down here and see what it's like in the summer months and see if you're able to deal with that here.
Right, that's right.
So you don't necessarily need to buy a winter home in Florida. It's fine if you do. We would love that as well. But owning a winter home offers a host of financial benefits. But you have to consider that you are dealing with maintaining multiple homes. If you are considering to ultimately purchase a home here in Florida, you may want to consider coming down opposite the Snowbird time. So that is, you may want to rent a home that's already owned by somebody who goes back and forth and goes back home in May to enjoy the summer, let's say in Pennsylvania, and you rent out the home down in Florida from May to October. That gives you an idea as to whether or not you can truly live here year round.
That's right. And the summer it can be pretty intense, especially if it's your first Florida summer. So it is probably worthwhile trying that. Yeah, and you can get a better deal. So for some of you, you're probably going to want to come down and already find a 55 and over community to stay in, to rent in, right? Because that's, if you're thinking about moving down here permanently, you'll want to test the waters. And that can be a little bit tricky because a lot of these communities are not going to allow short-term rentals.
Right.
Because they are fairly strict HOA communities. And if they are guard gated, especially, the guard is going to notice that you're coming in and out. It's a little bit harder to get away with it. But as we were just kind of alluding to, one way around that is to have a longer term lease in place with the agreement with the owner that you will be able to break it. And if that's something that you're interested in, again, it's something that we as realtors can pinpoint. Like if you say, well, we want to come down and stay in X community, we can look on the MLS and see if something is available in that exact community and kind of try to help you set that up. Otherwise, it is a little bit difficult. I think personally. What do you think?
I think
find
so too.
something like that.
I think it's very difficult. I do know that most 55 plus communities, at least the ones that we've gone to and that I've experienced in the past, allow one rental a year at a minimum of 3 months. So, but it's only one.
Minimum long-term rental in general in Florida is 6 months. So, for example, I don't know if you know this, Volusia County has banned short-term rental.
Oh no, I
Basically,
didn't know that.
Yeah, I know. So that is a minimum of 6 months. I am learning now, and that's as of last December. So there are nuances to it, but if you have it kind of legally structured that it is a long-term lease, generally that will work out.
And if you need any help with that, we are happy to help you. Just reach out to us via our Facebook page or our number, which appears on the screen.
So one thing that's coming to my mind as we're talking about this is, like, if you do want to come down here and you haven't snowbirded before, how do you choose where to go? So, we have the roads that take you to one side of Florida or the other, but where would you look? Based on activities or? Absolutely.
Yes, I enjoy a day at the beach, but I am not one who wants to just stay in leisure all day, every day. I'm looking for activities. So I would be looking for a 55 plus community that has lots of activities. I'm very active. I play tennis. I like pickleball. I want to go to informative sessions. I want to eat good food. So I would be looking for 55 plus communities or just communities in general that will offer me those opportunities. One of the interesting statistics I was reading is that 63% of snowbirds report their health as being good or excellent. And that is because there's so much to do when you're in a climate that allows you to do it, to be outdoors, you're biking, you're hiking, you're enjoying the weather, and you're not shoveling snow.
That's right, and just breathing in that, the Florida air is different. If you drive here from up north and you step out of the car, do you notice it? It's just, you got that little mixture of the beach air, and especially if you're on the coast. I think it's just a big stress relief. And I'm sure that's part
Absolutely. Yeah. So in conclusion, we just want to let you know that if you're coming down for 6 months and you still want to work, or you've decided that Florida is going to be your home, whether you snowbirded or not, we're here to help you work things out. So contact us via Facebook or by phone or email address, and we're happy to send you our checklist of things to consider when you're snowbirding.